Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our case study group discussion on sustainability at HP. We discussed already before the executive summary of our study. That's why we right here already discussed that nowadays it is difficult to ignore the concept of social responsibility of business. In the context of globalization, the domination of transnational corporation and the developing market economy, it has become synonymous with successful business. The activity of HP company for almost 70 years is based on almost on the principles proclaimed by its founder, Bell Hewlett and David Packard. One of these principles states that the success of any business is not only in obtaining commercial profits and achieving business results, but also in contributing to social well-being. Today, HP company uses the principles of social responsibility and global citizenship, applies the power of technology, partners, and the experience of more than 300,000 employees, making a positive impact on society and the world. This case is about Hewlett Packard on its culture and the problems the company encountered as it made a journey from a domestic firm to an international organization. The case discussed how the culture was created, developed, and perhaps lost during the company battle to stay in the top of the computer, taste, and measurement instrument markets. This case discussions the national and international challenges that HP has to deal with and and the changes the company has to make in order to save the HP way. The introduction of our study is like this. Ms. Ibalye, please discuss the introduction that will come up.
Introduction of the study. Hewlett-Packard, or HP, incorporated in 1939 under the ownership of Bill Hewlett and David Packard. By 1979, the company had 52,000 employees and more than 4,000 products, as reported by Beer and Rogers 1995. Since the beginning, the company had a different but concrete culture for managing its employees. David's idea was that if they could simply get everyone to agree on the firm's objectives and understand what the company's business was, its employees, and eventually the company would move in the right direction. HP was structured as a decentralized organization where general managers were authorized to make decisions for their product segment. The firm's business policies allowed for self-structuring mechanisms within the firm, and financially, leverage was almost non-existent as evidenced by its minimum long-term debt. Management by wandering around MBWA and management by objectives MBO were unique elements of HP's corporate culture. Beer and Rogers mentioned that these two elements consisted of tactics in which managers would spend part of the day walking and talking with subordinates and with other departments in order to improve communication and establishing long and short-term objectives that were communicated to all employees. 1995. Employees had employment security and stability, and the company was proud of its hiring and employee retention policies. According to Beer and Rogers, the HP employees had an average satisfaction index that was 25% above the national norm in 1979. However, by the 1980s, Hewlett-Packard's business units and organization had severely changed. Rapid innovation in information technology new companies being created, and the decline of profits caused the firm's stock price to crumble. In order to react, the company was obligated to downsize and redeploy some of its workers to other units. Downsizing created a larger workload for the remaining workers, and the relocated workers felt alienated. These actions lead to disbelief of employees in the HP way and caused their morale to decrease. In 1989, pressured by competitors, HP was forced to acquire another company. HP's creators felt that integrating the culture of the new firm would weaken the internal structure of Hewlett Packard, eventually eroding the HP way. New policies in the company also caused regional managers to lose their independence, as they no longer had direct influence on their business units.
So now, from the introduction that Ms. Ibali discussed, what possible statement of the problem are good and need to study and analyze? Ms. Asinas?
Yes, Miss Mandin. I think statement of the problem need to discuss are the following. First, how can one believe in the HP way when people are losing their jobs? Second, why don't practice apply equally across the company anymore? And third, can the HP way survive in today's intensely competitive environment? Ms. Mandin, these three leading questions that I have found in research are the ways to be analyzed and to be discussed, and what an alternative of the problem are we going to come up?
Yes, I think Ms. Asinas is right. Do you have any addition to our statement of the problem? So if there's none, so let's discuss this and find out what alternative we can give to this problem. So it's final. Now, how about the objective of the study, Ms. Molina? Can you give us what do you think are the objective of our study?
Yes, Ms. Mandin. For me, the objective of the study is like this. The learning organization like HP is an important area as it is considered as one of the sustainable approach to achieve and sustain competitive advantage in long run. Therefore, the following objectives were formulated. One, to develop a unique way of working. Two, to develop a different management approach that focuses on the merits of the program for organizational change. Three, to integrate each organizational culture within the new firms. Four, to ensure the HPWay values were effectively communicated. Five, to adopt environmental changes to effectively implement new processes into the firm. And the last, to explore strategic leadership and HP.
Yes, I think Ms. Molina is right. Any discussion or addition? So if there's being none, so let's write this to our case study final paper. Ms. Dohinia, do you have anything to discuss or to open up to help our case study discussion?
Yes, Miss Mandin. I want to know, guys, about information analysis of the study that maybe can help our case study analysis. It said that management philosophy, HP believe that the thinking and managing of other people should not necessarily be accepted without the most careful consideration and without some actual testing in the practice. It has developed a unique way of working with its people
as HP spirit, which is the key to their productivity, leadership, continuing progress, and success. And in my point of view, the challenges of growth that HP encountered, that I think this is also their big problem. Like, how can one believe in the HP way when people are losing their jobs? For me, it is important to remember that regardless of industry and organizations, most employees will tend to appreciate the company's desire to avoid layoffs. So in the case of HP, this could indicate that employees agreed the challenge is inevitable in order for the company to have a spot in the market. So the corporation should develop a different management approach that focuses on the merits of the program for organizational change. The new approach must emphasize the corporate objectives regarding people, values, and mission. The company should also stress the HP security policies such as compensation packages, retirement plan, stock options, and promotion opportunities. Employees can that is meant for employees should understand that downsizing and redeployment were two better options than layoff. It could also be an opportunity for employees to change careers. In addition, philosophical support and a mentoring program would also be a good way to ensure employees still believe in the HP way.
Yes, I go for what Miss Dohena said. What about you guys? Any addition? So it's final. Let's write this to our case study paper. Now let's go to on number 2 problem. Anyone please give your idea on this?
Yes, Miss Mandin. I think statement of problem number 2. Why don't practices apply equally across the company anymore? In my analysis to this, I think this can be solved if HP divided its operation between its computer hardware business and its smaller office products division. Beer and Rogers 1995 suggests that as XP expanded into the computer segment, resulting in acquisitions, consolidation, and outsourcing. This created a feeling of detachment and fragmentation in employees. The company had no prior experience in dealing with growing a company. So as it grew larger, the only way this saw fit was to acquire and expand. This was further complicated by the fact that HP had no solid general plan for growth. Substantiating this claim is the evidence that HP only acquired and partnered with other firms only to gain technical knowledge and not to integrate its organizational culture within the new firms. This resulted in the company not expanding HP practices across the board to their new partners, Beer and Rogers.
Yes, Ms. Ibalye, you're right. And in addition to your discussion, I think this issue would not have been so much if a problem of it HP had experience in these procedures or had sought the use of consultants the way The transition process would have been easier and would have allowed the SP way still be used by the firm in light of the new changes. The firm's new decentralized structure also conflicted with the HP way.
Yes, Ms. Mandin. It's also said that the company did not factor in the firm's missions, objective or vision statements into how the company was expanding and operating. Each of its business segments also operated more independent from each other. The personal computer, printer, measurement, test, and international divisions did not share any common services. Each had different customer and target groups. Their management structure were different. Technology was implemented differently in each segment, and each segment also had its own set of distribution channels, all of which further led to lower coordination within the company and increased fragmentation across units. Bear and Roger P. 1623.
Yes, Ms. Molina. It also said that efforts to bring centralization to HP for some reason reinforce its decentralized methods. The new bureaucracy that was created increased difficulty in decisions making and other work processes which helped to bring down its employees' spirits. All of these actions further led to decrease the coordination and the company's work practices. Another reason why practices at HP did not apply across the board can be attributed to how foreign operations were managed. Foreign managers were converted to only being liaisons between the US and their subsidiaries. If these managers would have been used to coordinate business in their respective countries with headquarters, they could actually serve the purpose of employing the HP way with minor modification for cultural work practices in its foreign location.
Yes, and in addition to your discussion, Ms. Asenas, I think there was also no effort made to ensure that the HP way values were effectively communicated to the foreign branches. All of these actions and auxiliary actions that took place lead to decreased application of HP practices throughout the firm, both domestically and internationally.
Yes, and in my point of view, I think your discussion in number two problem is enough already. So I think let's write this to our case study paper. So now, how about number three, statement of the problem that said, can HPW survive in today's intensely competitive environment? For me, I think yes. The HPW can survive in today's intensely competitive environment. The key to maintaining the HPW and values like it are the create values that can be modified when changes in the firm's internal or external environment occur. The problem most companies face when trying to hold onto their core value is that the values are sometimes too rigid. Rigid values and processes make it hard for a firm to adapt to environmental changes and to effectively implement new processes into the firm.
Ms. Mandin, in addition to your discussion, I think if a firm instead has values that provide a good foundation and culture on how to operate without specific guidelines, the values can then be adjusted to incorporate new changes within and outside the firm, which allows smooth transition and minimal disruption for employees. And I think challenges and opportunities The main problem with HP is that it has lost its touch with employees. As a result, employee morale has decreased, which can be attributed to numerous factors. With new expansions and some consolidations, HP does not know how to retain a sense of purpose and familiarity as had been done in previous years when the company was smaller.
Yes, Miss Ibali, you're right. And I think the company needs a way to reconcile decentral- decentralized management structures and reporting systems with the informal corporate culture that still operates and is managed effectively under the same form of central control.
Yes, I think you're right, guys. So it's so it is feasible to re-employ the HP way, or it is better to leave things the way they are.
In my point, in my point of view, I think the problem HP is faced with presents a large opportunity for the company to turn around its practices. The opportunity the opportunity is present to rework the management structure, boost employee esteem, return a sense of pride to HP, and more importantly, link all of the business units together to decrease uncoordination while still retaining autonomy on some levels. The HP way values should be redefined to take into consideration the new changes the company has recently undergone. HP has the new HP has the opportunity to adapt the HP way to a new mindset of organizational thinking. There is also an opportunity to transplant the HP way into foreign markets, which can be done with some minor modifications.
But I think it's lack of what alternative solution we can suggest to, to this to help solve the problem. In my opinion, I think in order to be successful in the global market, HP has to find a way to adapt its culture to the internal scenario. The core values of the HP way, integrity, respect for individuals, innovation, and contribution to customer and the community can still be applied even after the company's restructuring.
Yes, Miss Manden. In addition to your alternative solution, I think the HP we can and will be reinstated into the corporate environment. Employees need the HP way, although a few structural changes have occurred. HP can once again become a familiar and tight-knit firm. However, HP is too big to have a decentralized structure in most of the areas into this economy. I think a new structure has to be developed, and the HP tradition in terms of structure would have to be broken down and built up in some areas in order to accomplish its strategies.
Yes, you're right, Ms. Asenas. Create the problem of decreased coordination between some product segments that use some of the same functions. It is necessary that key components of these operations be centralized, Beer and Rogers 1995 said. Further coordination of the HP way in the foreign subsidiaries also needs to be implemented so that practices can be standard across the board.
I love your alternative solution, guys. This is very helpful to HP. So I think it's good to write this in our case study final paper. Now, in your point of view, how do you think HP implement this?
Miss Manden, in my point of view, I think implementation plans redefining the HP way as both employee morale. The main step in getting HP back on track with the workers is to regain the trust, satisfaction, and morale of its employees. However, what employees must understand is that when a business expands, the sense of closeness and familiarity will erode to a certain extent.
For me, I think teamwork, it will also be wise to bring back some level of teamwork into organization. For me, I think teamwork, it will also be wise to bring back some level of teamwork into the organization. The reintroduction of the HP way can lead the reapplication of some of the values and practices that were favored in the past, according to the Bear and, and Rogers. The biggest issue with the company was employees feeling that the concept of teamwork had been abandoned by the firm 1995.
Yes, in my opinion, I think divisional reviews, the process of divisional reviews will be improved to better evaluate each of the firm's business units. Beer and Rogers state that employees feel very strongly about this issue and thought that the old process of conducting these reviews was sufficient to revamp this process. The divisional reviews should be conducted separately and not lumped together with other units.
For me, I think time use. To alleviate the feeling of being pushed for time that is inherent within HP, a new way to thinking needs to be implemented in the office environment. This could be as simple as letting employees know whenever you finish, it's done. Or it can be as complicated as actually changing deadlines or altering work schedules.
In addition, I think conversation also there is the option of offering more to employees in terms of compensation measures. The first step is to emphasize the employment security policy that is in EPIC at HP. The current policy at HP is to use downsizing and redeployment in order to avoid layoffs and the negative aspects that come along with letting people go. To make the policy more attractive, the severance packages should be increased to include better benefits in terms of monetary value.
Yes, guys, I think we are already done our case study paper. And to finish and end this, we need to have our recommendation. And I think for me, my recommendation to this, although some renewed company employees may have skills and experience like the HP employees, but they don't get any opportunity to enter into HP. Therefore, it's not a bad idea to give opportunity for those who have skills and experience but not yet an employee of HP. It may broaden the new idea, way of thinking, and imaginary ability.
And in addition to for what Ms. Mandin said, I think HPU's same management style in USA and non-USA location. Therefore, customization of management style is required to overcome cultural and geographical barriers. it is important for HP management to review the management style.
Yes, also in my point of view, I think as new employees at all levels tend to go through a period of adaptation, and often includes considerable frustration, therefore, need to be careful so that this frustration remains considerable, otherwise, it may be motivate the new employees.
Any addition to our recommendation? Anyone? So if there's none, let's write this to our case study paper to be able to have a final case study. Thank you everyone for your cooperation to our case study discussion. Good luck and goodbye.